Sports Illustrated's MMA Knockout. Here today with Kody Mommaerts, the man of the hour, Big Mo himself. After a tremendous week at Paul versus Tyson announcing in the ring. Big Mo, how's it going today?
I'm good. Finally decompressed a little bit from the chaos that was last week. I'm happy to be back home in Denver and but last week was awesome, but it was chaotic at times, so it's nice to just kind of be relaxed right now.
Awesome, man. I'm sure there's like a lot of emotions heading into last week, but when did you get the call that you were going to be the ring announcer for this massive event in Paul versus Tyson?
Yeah, so I originally got reached out to back in June when they had their original date pending in July. Jake Paul and his team had tried to work with me before. It never kind of worked out. I obviously work primarily for Boxer, which is on Sky Sports and NBC, so that's usually the show that I do, and it still is. But they wanted me to do the show in July, so I committed to that. I was in Mexico when I got the call, and then it got canceled a couple of days later. So I was like, well, that was cool while it lasted. But then it got rescheduled. I stayed in communication, different productions and things changed and everything like that. But I think it finally got confirmed like a month out or so. And it was an amazing, amazing night.
Yeah, who was the first person that you told after the news?
Well, when I was in Mexico, when I got the call originally, I told all my friends that I was on a trip with. We were all on a combo bachelorette party with some friends that I grew up with, and I told them all first, so we kind of all celebrated there. And then I guess I told my friends initially when I got the call again back in end of October. So
I believe our generation missed, the era of Mike Tyson fighting. So, I guess what were your earliest memories of Mike Tyson? Was it in The Hangover? Was it something else? What were your earliest memories of the great Mike Tyson?
no, I mean I was too young to really remember what he was like in his prime. So I remember a lot of post career Mike Tyson. I remember watching highlights because there was such a mythology around him and who he was, and especially who he was, earlier in his career when he was his most dominant. So it was more just understanding the mythology of it all more than anything else.
Most definitely, man. And he definitely drew in quite the crowd, him and Jake Paul. 70,000 people, man. AT&T Stadium, biggest crowd to date for you?
Yeah, no, that is the biggest show that I've done. I mean, to be fair, it's quite possibly the biggest combat sports show ever done, period. But in terms of live crowd, it's the biggest I've done. Biggest I've done to that point, I did the Manchester Arena for Liam Smith versus Chris Eubank Jr., 1 and 2. That sold about 22,000 on both of those. So this was definitely a step up population wise, definitely a step up viewership wise. I think the official number came out 108 million live viewers, which is just insane. And that's a projection too. That could even be low. I know it's like 65 million households or something like that. Just staggering numbers.
I know that this wasn't your first rodeo, pun intended, because it's in Texas. But what were the nerves like for you heading into fight week? How do you keep your nerves in check, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, look, I had done big shows up to that point. I had done a couple pay-per-views. I did Shields Marshall, which was a massive event a couple years ago. So the exposure never made me nervous. Nothing really made me nervous. I was pretty calm the whole week. I think I had told you years ago when we first met that, how I approach every show is like I'm on that stage. I don't approach, smaller shows like it's a smaller show. I look at a smaller show like it's a big show. It's all about affirmation, visualization to me. So when I was there, I was actually super calm. Wasn't nervous, wasn't scrambling with notes, wasn't fidgeting or anything like that. I was pretty locked in the whole time. It wasn't a super long card, which was nice on the voice. It was just, I think everything came together on that night, at least for me, pretty perfect. I can't really complain.
Describe to me the energy of the crowd because I feel like the air in that stadium that night was a little bit different than anything I've been to.
I wish people could have experienced it live there. It was such a it was an event really more than anything else. Like we talk about events, we talk about what boxing's trying to do. That was from an event standpoint, that was it. I mean, I knew that it was starting to take off a little bit when the Netflix broadcast started. Keep in mind the prelims had like a million live viewers at one point, which is just staggering. Like for prelims in boxing to have that type of viewership is insane. So it was already getting a lot of traction. And keep in mind, this is after the slap. This is the night of the show. So the prelims get massive viewership. Then the main card starts. It was a very good main card. I mean, the first fight was more of it was kind of a global fight. You had Winderson, who didn't have a huge professional record. You have Niraj, who was more experienced. It was kind of just this, it was a good fight to start the card, I thought. They were fun, they were energetic. But then it got into Mario Barrios versus Abel Ramos, which was a great fight. So then that's when the crowd started to pick up because that was a great fight. When Abel Ramos dropped Mario Barrios, the crowd kind of picked up, right? And I'm in tune with all this because I'm trying to, get a sense of where the crowd is at to kind of gauge my energy and things like that. And then the women's fight happened. And that was a classic. Again, it was a classic. The first time they fought, it was a classic again. Broke the record most viewed women's sporting event, at least in the US. Wouldn't be surprised if it was global for just a singular event like that. So then that's when it started to pick up. And then by the time the main event promos started and the main event buildup started, the energy in there was crazy because you had a mixture of people that were newer generation there for Jake Paul. You had older generation that was there for Mike Tyson. You had casual fans there that were there for Mike Tyson. You had celebrities everywhere. You had production that was going on everywhere. It was just, there was so much going on. But what it did is it created an environment for the crowd to feel really comfortable, getting loud, getting energetic. And so when I was introducing and when I was building the main event and I heard the pops for Jake Paul with the boos and the pops for Mike Tyson, I was like, oh, the place is about to lift off for this. And I think it crescendoed at Mike Tyson's introduction, which was cool. And then the fight went on, and it was a great night all around. It was a successful event.
Most definitely, man. And I feel like watching it back, I was near to walk out for Mike Tyson. I don't think any fighter has ever received a louder pop than Mike Tyson did in his intro, that you did, or his walkout. Has there been a fighter that you've introduced or seen that's gotten a bigger pop than Mike Tyson?
Not not from a mixed crowd. So, for example, like I've done shows in the UK where a fighter will be in his hometown, and that's like a super, it's not as big of a crowd, but it's like a super, like they're really behind their guy or their girl, right? It's very, localized. And so the energy that, they get good pops. But I've never heard a pop from a random crowd like that, in the sense of like Mike's not from Dallas, Mike's not, that it was a neutral site for both of them. Neither of them are from Texas. So it was a neutral location, but so many people were there to see Mike Tyson, even just to see him, let alone the fight, but just to be there. That's why the ring walk, that's why the introduction was such a big deal, because people were like, oh my God, I'm seeing Mike Tyson. This is crazy. So yeah, I would say I've never heard a pop like that in boxing,
Hmm.
which
How
is
do
the
you
goal.
look back?
I get energetic, which is why I do what I do, is for those pops.
For sure, man. You killed it on your introduction. I guess, how do you look back on how you introduced him, and are you looking forward to telling your grandkids, "Hey, I introduced Mike Tyson back in the day, by the way."
Yeah, it was a it was a pretty surreal moment. There was so much more to the show. My introduction was just a piece of it. But I'm happy. The reason why I'm happy about the event is when Mike Tyson lost to McBride and retired, and I think I'm getting the history right. I think he quit on his stool. I don't think he answered the bell. He talked about how he was out of shape. He lost the love. At the time, he was addicted to God knows what. I think it was drugs and alcohol, is what he said. So for him then to come back and to have that moment in front of 72,000 people, Netflix's first live sporting event, more viewers for a combat sporting event ever, for Mike to have that, for his son to be there, for his kids to see him, I thought it was amazing. And that's why in that moment I was like, I want to give this guy an introduction that, people will remember. I want to capture the energy that's in this room right now. I don't want to make it super long, but I do want to hit some salient points. So it was a little bit longer than I usually like to go for. But it's Mike Tyson. I mean, how do you not give him a worthy introduction? You know, he in a lot of people's minds is one of the greatest of all time. To me, I think prime Mike Tyson is a top three heavyweight of all time. I think he was unbelievable. And to see him come back, to see him get in shape, to see him be happy in a boxing ring again, to see him around his family on that such a platform, it was an honor for me to be across from him. It was kind of a surreal moment when it happened. I couldn't really believe that I was introducing Mike Tyson. If you had asked me years ago with my career, you know, what the big fight I was going to do first was, if you had told me it would have been introducing Mike Tyson, I would have been like, oh yeah, that's a good joke. But it happened, and it was a moment.
For sure, man. And there's that iconic photo that Esther Lynn took of you in the center of the ring, Tyson, Paul in the corners. Is it safe to say that's getting framed in the next few days?
Yes, absolutely. That photo, and shout out to Esther at All Elbows. She was like kind of the lead photographer for the event. From what I gathered, they had a great photography team of like 5, 6 people. They were awesome. But yeah, that photo is definitely getting blown up. I'm working on that as we speak. That is 100% going on in my room, you know, because you can spot other people in the crowd too. Like, I'm friends with Shaq, and he was there ringside. I became friends with Gronk. He was there, and you can see them at ringside. You can see like different, like, Where's Waldo people all over. So it's just such a cool photo. Definitely blowing that up and throwing that up on the wall.
Two more questions for you, Big Mo. How did you go about picking your suit for fight night? Was that a difficult decision?
Every announcer's different how they want to dress. I used to be that guy that would dress very, flamboyant, and I had the patterns and the designs. And I was like, this isn't. It almost felt kind of hokey to me. I've never been one to wear like glitter, or you see announcers wear some stuff, but that's their prerogative. Whatever you want to wear, you want to wear. And I didn't want to have the focus be on me. If the focus is on me, I want it for my announcing, not because I'm wearing a jacket with flames on it or something like that. So I just went with a straight black tuxedo. I wanted this to feel like boxing with a show. There were a lot of casual viewers. I didn't want it to come off the wrong way. I wanted to look presentable. I wanted to look formal. So I just went with a straight tuxedo, shawl lapel, bow tie, and I thought it turned out really nice. Thought it looked good.
In 2021, you said that you wanted to
Announce the biggest mixed martial arts show in history.
keep in mind this was like one of my first interviews of you back at
Yeah.
MMA too. I guess looking back on that and moving into next year, what are some of your biggest goals heading into 2025?
Well, I've said, I don't care who I announce for. I don't care what show it is. I don't care where it is. But like I told you, I want to announce on the biggest platform possible. I want to announce the biggest show possible. At 29 years old, I've done that. And that's pretty cool for me to say. It's been a wild ride in my career. It's gone incredibly quickly. I did my first undisputed championship when I was 26. I just did that show at 29. It's been a wild ride. It's gone really quick, which I knew that I had the ability to do that very quickly. I had the confidence in myself. So now it's just about scaling what I'm doing even more. Maybe that's branching in, to MMA again. I don't know. I'm currently doing boxing and bare knuckle, and I have a pretty full plate at the moment. So I don't know where it's going to go. But I'm thankful for it all. You never know what's going to land on your plate in this wacky world of combat sports. Like I said, if you had asked me if I was going to be doing Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson 2 years ago, I would have been like, okay, that's hilarious. Good one. But it happened, and it was a moment. It was a global event. I got to show what I can do to just a massive international audience. And so for that, I'm forever thankful. And wherever the career takes me from here, at this point, I'm not trying to necessarily steer it anymore. I'm more so just trying to ride the waves that are taking me. So
For sure, Kody. Well, I think that's all the questions I had for you, man. I just want to thank you again for the time. Is there anything that you want to say to the fans out there watching on Sports Illustrated?
yeah, look, I'm extremely thankful to everyone that tuned in for the show. I'm extremely thankful to all the people that sent me messages. I'm still combing through messages and mentions and all that type of stuff, of the introduction and the night and everything. So for all those people, I'm forever thankful. For all the friends and family that tuned in and finally got to see what I do, Thank you. I'm glad that you all got to see it on such a massive stage. Chris, I want to thank you. You know, you've always been someone that's taken stock in what I do and like the career that I have. And for that, I appreciate you. You interviewed me years ago, and now you're interviewing me now. So I appreciate you for always giving me a platform and giving me a voice to talk about this journey that I'm on. So thank you.